me. Great. All right, so welcome back to Think Differently. We haven't done these, I mean, I've been here, but we did our masterclass last month, and so this is really the first time since August that we've come together in this exact format, so it's nice to be back. And we had, if you didn't catch the sort of what we're talking about today, we had I Think Differently in August, I think it was, specifically related to freebies. I did another one actually last August, so 2024 and 2025. Both of those replays are there for you in the chat for those of you who are here live. If you didn't catch those or you want to catch up on those, it's literally 2 hours of me talking. It's a 2-hour, if you put them together, I guess it's a masterclass on freebies. And both of them were my top performing Think Differently's for each year. This year beat out last year, but other than that, they are my top performing Think Differently. So obviously you guys have some opinions and preferences for the topic of freebies. And when we went through the August one, I had so many questions that I could not get to all of them. And usually I can cover the questions that you guys ask in these, but I couldn't remotely get to them all. So I had said I will get back to you somehow, some way with your questions. And then that continued. I got through, I would say 90+% of the questions that came. We had a free masterclass last month. If you want the replay, you can't find it on my website. It's been taken down, but I'll happily send it to you. So just DM me or send an email, hit reply to the email that sent you this. And that was called the predictable sales framework. And so we got a couple of questions still sort of that came out of that are still outstanding. And I have just noticed more and more that the questions that are coming up, I'm just creating a backlog. So for those of you who are live, it is not on you to create questions. If you have questions, burning questions, questions about freebies, questions about your offers, questions about really anything in your business, I'll tell you if I can't answer it. I just really wanted to give you, offer you a free for all. So those of you who are live, you get prioritized, but also I have so many lists of questions I can talk forever if you guys just want to listen. But if you're live, you obviously have the opportunity to take this in the direction that works best for you. So feel free, if you're here, use the chat, let me know what your questions are. And as we go, please, as I always say with these events, I like this to be, even when I'm talking at you, I like it to be an engagement. So to the extent that you want to, feel free to engage with me in the chat, especially to say, hey, what you just said right now, I didn't understand what you said, or could you give me an example, or do you mean it this way or do you mean it that way? So feel free to ask questions to clarify also what I'm saying. If you don't ask, I won't know that wasn't clear. So that's always very helpful for me. And if you have a question, I always feel like if the question's in the room, it's also in the broader scheme of things. And so you're probably also sort of paying it forward for somebody on the replay who would ask that question, but isn't live to ask it. Okay, let's see. So we talked about privacy before we hit record. The chat is open. Feel free to use it. Oh, I always forget this. Because you're here live with me, you get entered to win a free mini coaching session. And so that is something that I typically draw about once a month, every 2 Think Differentlys. Sometimes we have 1 a month, sometimes we have 2. So if you would like to enter to win a free coaching session, just go to the chat and click and just type in enter me. And then I will enter you. And once you're entered always. So you might not win this month, but you might win next month because your name is in the proverbial hat, so to speak, the metaphorical hat. It's actually a spreadsheet. Your name is in the spreadsheet hat. So if you'd like to win, just type enter me in there and I will throw your name in the hat. And then I don't know if I threw I know we need to do today. I can find the whole. I don't know if I put all my links in the chat when everybody joins. So let me just throw that in there. So that's the links to the freebie replays from last year and this year, and also to a discovery call. So I have, I don't even know, 2 spots. I think 2 spots left for the rest of the year for my 6-month just ongoing regular coaching partnership. And then I'll be full for the rest of the year. That doesn't include intensives. I do have a sprinkling of intensives available, but I think they are now only the ones that are left are only for November. For November start dates, if you're interested in a 1-week intensive. The 1-week intensive is great for, at this point, like year-end planning or like doing some strategic planning for next year, because I always find that like if we do strategic planning in January, or if we do strategic planning now, then we can set the business up for what we want to do in January and actually start all of that sooner than later. So strategic planning is a great topic. Diving into your offers, if you have a new offer or if you just need to refine your existing offers, that's a really good one. Good topic for the 1-week intensive if you want to refine. I also have a lot of people using that to refine their marketing strategy, or really any other topic that you and I sit down and discuss would be appropriate. It's really more what can we do, like what can we appropriately accomplish in a week. But that's 2 sessions, a full week of support in between, like emailing me back and forth, and it includes a document review. So for example, if you update a sales page or you write a special piece of content, then I will review that. We'll review one thing for you as a part of that. And then my one-on-one coaching program is just a normal business coaching program. What I'm so focused on these days is working with people one-on-one to take their business to the next level, to wherever you are and between wherever you are and wherever you want to go. And so whether you're, looking at making your first 100K, whether you're looking to scale to 200, multi 6 figures, 2, 3, 4, 5, or taking it from multi 6 to 7, all of those areas are, you don't really have to be in one sort of camp or the other. All of those areas are where I'm focusing with my clients these days. And I always approach things from both a mindset and a strategy perspective. Okay. I think that's enough there. All that is to say, I am wrapping up my coaching spots for the year. And I'm actually already slowly starting to talk to some people about January. So if you're interested in starting either in November or January, now is the perfect time to have a conversation. Just book a discovery call. The link is in the chat. The link is also in the replay email, or just reach out to me if you can't find it. It's all over my website, but have a free call. We'll talk it through. And again, whether you're looking for a now start date or a later start date, now's the best time because I'm starting to fill up. Okay. So let's get into, if you guys don't have any other questions that you've posted already, I'm gonna start with the chat and then I'll just go down my list. But let me also give those of you, I'm gonna actually give those of you who are live. Okay, I was just checking to make sure there's no comments. Let me just give you a couple of categories to see if you guys just want to vote on like what you want to hear first, if you don't have any questions of your own. Obviously, we still have a lot of freebie questions to catch up on, so I've got all of those down. So if that's a topic of interest, just maybe write freebies in there and I'll know that that's your vote. Freebies, offers. I'm going to just call this like industry commentary. I've got a couple questions about like, and I did a live about this too, but sort of what's happening in the industry. Trend, and I don't mean trends in terms of like reels that are performing. I mean trends in terms of like what's happening. AI, there's all these stories about people aren't buying. I've also heard like these things about high ticket is dead, which is, if you want to just use my business as an example, like I'm having a really great year and I only have high ticket offers. So just sort of like an understanding of what's really happening in the industry versus what noise is out there. I'm happy to shed some light on that, and especially if you have specific questions about that, and as well as what's actually working and like what to pay attention to and what to tune out. Marketing, boundaries, trades. I think that covers it for the topic. So if you guys who are live have a preference, feel free to just vote in the chat and I'll order my Q&A accordingly. Okay. I'm going to start with one that I've been getting a lot this year. Okay, I see a vote for freebies. I've gotten so many questions this year I don't know why it's this year more than ever. Maybe it's just me. From clients, somebody asked it in, I think this question came from the freebie event. And I also think it's maybe the reason I keep getting this question asked is I think it comes with the territory a lot of times when people are, I'm somebody who hosts a networking event. I think when people use networking as part of their marketing strategy, which I have for the entirety of my business, 8 years in business. I guess I've been using social media for 6 of those 8 years together, networking and social media. And so maybe it's because of networking, but I get a lot of questions about trades. Should you do trades? How to draw those boundaries, what to do with that, etc. So let me let one more person in. So if trades are a thing that you guys want to hear about, I will absolutely get to that one. I feel like there's a lot of questions there, but I'm going to actually start with freebies because that's what you guys are saying. Okay, hang on, let me just read the chat here. Okay, I feel highly uninspired today, even though I'm swamped and happy. AI and all these sales thingies, that is one that keeps you online for like 6 hours. Also, TEDx is coming. Oh, I didn't know TEDx is coming to Roatan. Oh, that's very interesting. Well, I want to go and listen if I don't speak. That's really cool. Yeah, trades. Okay. Yeah, so Karen, let me know. I have a follow-up question for you. Tell me what you mean by AI and all these sales thingies. There's one that keeps you online for 6 hours. Is there, help me with that one? If you can give me more clarity, more detail, I'll happily answer that one. Okay, so let me just go into a couple of these freebie questions because it sounds like that's where you guys are most interested. Let me start there. Okay, here's a good one. I think this is maybe my favorite one that came out of the freebies that I really just could not get to. I think I maybe started to answer it. I put like a little question mark by it. How do you stick to freebies around free consultations? And I'm gonna actually answer this a couple ways because I don't actually know what this person meant by free consultations. So I'm gonna make a few assumptions and sort of answer it in a few different ways. I think what they meant is either a free consultation, that's what I call my discovery call. But I know that in the course of a freebie converse, in the context of talking about freebies, that could even be a free offer, free sessions. I just offered you guys the opportunity to enter to win a free mini session. How do you handle boundaries around that? And then I also have several clients who it's not really a free session because they're not coaches, but it's similar in terms of how do I want to say this without, it all kind of, let me just not give away privacy here, hold on. Some people do kind of like an audit or of your website, for example. Let me look at your website and give you 3 pieces of information, and please 3 recommendations, and we can have a call about it kind of thing. Similarly I've seen that for copywriters, I've seen that for any kind of sort of strategic or consultative kind of service. So again, it's hard to put it all together because everybody is different, but I think it sort of serves that same purpose for me as a free mini coaching session or some sort of free bite-sized thing. So I'm going to kind of answer it around all of those. So whether that's discovery calls or some sort of free experience. And there's a couple of thoughts, and then if you guys have specific questions around this, again, feel free to ask me a follow-up question on it. I think a couple of things with boundaries come up for me. One is, and I'll use mine as an example, my normal sessions with clients are an hour, but my mini session is it's really 30 minutes. And then it's actually a 45-minute call, and I'm very clear in there. This is 30 minutes of actual coaching, and then we'll use the final 15 minutes of the call. If you're interested in you're looking for a coach, then we'll use that final 15 minutes to talk about. It's really starting to talk about a discovery call, starting to talk about what it might look like to work together. And then most of the time people need to book a discovery call after that. But it's a chance to offer that option, to get that conversation started and to give them a free experience of what it's like to work with me. So that being said, I think that honoring the time is one of the ways that we set boundaries with our mini coaching sessions, right? So can you imagine how different it would be if I offered a free session and I gave you 90 minutes to 2 hours of my time? I'm trying to be a little dramatic with my example, right? But like, I'm giving you 30 minutes of my time. I'm not giving you 2 hours of my time, right? That's one way we can have boundaries. So one is to have it contained within the offer and to make it really clear what the offer is, right? So that people don't think it's a bait and switch, right? It would be so messed up if I was like, I'm giving away a free session, and then you get on the call and I'm like, so let me tell you why you should work with me. Like, no, it's a coaching session. I'm giving you free stuff. So let me back up. So I think one very simple way to set boundaries with that is when you have a free offer. We talked about this a lot in the freebies conversation around having a bite-sized piece of your work, right? So again, my example is always like the chocolate croissant in the bakery. I actually know that I want a chocolate croissant. I love chocolate croissants. I think they are like, to be honest, they're like one of my favorite things on the planet to eat. But because I love them so much and I'm a little bit of a snob, I actually want to taste the chocolate croissant. If you have a taste, not all bakeries do this, but if you have a taste, if you have a sample that I can have a bite of, that's going to help me know if I'm going to buy my croissant there, if I'm just going to buy something else. And so how can you take that concept and apply it to your business? In my case, I offer 6 months of coaching, right? The best and easiest way for me to give you an experience, that bite-sized piece of what it might look like for us to have that kind of relationship, is to give you a small chunk of that experience, right? And so I give you 30 minutes. We can do something in 30 minutes. And so then the other boundary that I will use, and again, this isn't going to fit for everyone. Coaches, you're welcome to steal this. But anybody who's not a coach, like, think about how this translates for your business. I also ask people to choose one topic, so that I can focus for 30 minutes and give them some amount of value, right? If they want to talk about their offers and pivoting and their pricing, there's no way I'm going to help them solve that in 30 minutes. And then I'm just making promises and doing myself and them a disservice. So boundaries are time, scope, right? In my case, the topic at hand. And then I would go back to time again and say, and I'm the world's worst at this, but I think when we also honor the time that we say we're going to. So I could tell you it's 30 minutes, but then what if I give you an hour, right? That's another way to hold your boundaries around it. Because the point of a freebie is to give them a proper experience so they know that, like, I'm gonna eat my croissant so I know it's what I want it to taste like, and then I'm happy to buy more of that. In a coaching situation, for example, the relationship between the coach and the coachee is like the number one predictor of success. And so, and then also the person deciding whether or not to work with me, like, I can tell you how I coach all day long. I can tell you how I think about business all day long, but like, it's just a lot easier to just sit down and do the thing in a tiny little scoped out moment, to give you a taste test. That's just a lot easier for, frankly, everybody. It helps a client make a decision. What was my point? Time. But when we take that and we give them everything, right? If I take my 30 minutes and I make it an hour, then it's no longer a bite-sized piece exactly. And what we don't want is, we want them to have something to take away, but we don't want them to have like 40 things to take away, because now somebody's going to think, okay, great, I have to do 40 things and then I can work with this person. Right, so that actually sort of defeats the purpose of creating the relationship. So if you need a strategy reason to hold your boundaries besides a mindset reason to hold your boundaries, I'd like to offer that as well. It actually doesn't serve all that much to keep going. The point is, can you get them some value in the time that you can? And I can always see something in 30 minutes that I can point out to a client, usually in the first 10. And so that's really the point of your free offer. And I'm talking very much, in terms of like a free session as an example, but this was the question. So how do you stick to your boundaries? thinking about it, planning for it, so strategizing it, so setting it up already in a certain way, right? This is 30 minutes, you have 15 extra minutes if you want to talk about working together. So how you set it up, how you frame it for them, being super clear for them about what that looks like is really important. And then your job is to hold the boundary. Your job is to just follow what you said it was, right? Just do what it is that you said you were there to do, is I think the most important piece. And this for me is where the strategy piece and the mindset come together, because if I have the strategy that serves me and I'm not holding to my boundaries, then I know that the boundary piece there is a mindset issue. Does that make sense? Or if you're like, well, I have this free session and it works and everybody loves it, but then I don't know what they need. I feel like I'm overgiving. I feel like I'm giving too much, but I don't know where to draw the line. That means you probably need to go back and look at it from a strategy perspective or a practical perspective and set it up with some boundaries. It probably isn't your mindset. You're just kind of not clear, and you're leaving it so open and vague that it's confusing for both you and the person, right? And then the final piece I will say with that is, again, I said this already, but I just want to highlight it because we talked about time and scope. I think the other piece is that real clear communication in the sign up link, in your email when you invite them, depending on in the document, if it's a PDF thing they download, whatever, really, really clear expectations of what to expect is really, really important. And then you don't have so many boundaries to hold because you've already told them what to expect, right? Does that make sense? So it's like people are often going to push the boundaries if there's no structure. Like you may in your mind have a line where the boundary is, but if you don't tell them, then they're going to be, I always think about like boundaries as like a soccer field. Like it doesn't need to be a concrete wall at the edge of the soccer field, right? We just need the lines. But if we don't have any lines and I'm on an open field and I don't know where out of bounds is, then I'm probably literally running all over the soccer field. And you, as the practitioner, as the service provider, as the coach, whatever you are, might get frustrated because you're like, these people are crazy and they're running all around they're like on this field next door, but like there's no lines and I don't even know where I'm located, right? So we want to have some lines. And again, those lines get communicated in the sign up link and those kinds of things. So making that really, really clear. Especially if you feel like, I feel like I get a lot of people telling me like, I have a free offer. It works really well, meaning that people want it, but then it doesn't convert. Or it works, meaning people want it, but they take me up on it, and then I end up overgiving because you don't have the structure, right? You don't have those boundaries, whatever the clear agreement is. Or you feel like it's too much, and maybe it is and maybe it's not. But when you feel like that, one, you're going to pull your free offer, right? Like when you start to feel overwhelmed or taken advantage of, or like people are pushing your boundaries, because even holding a boundary for a long time over time becomes fatigues you, right? So I think it's sort of like, remember to go back to the drawing board. You might just need to scope it a little bit tighter. And then again, put that in writing. Let that be super clear. And then also on the call, let that be super clear because people don't read stuff, right? And I'm very, very clear about that up front. Hi, welcome to my call. I'm literally giving you coaching. Like this is for you. So we're going to do 30 minutes of that. And they've already picked a topic and they've already submitted to me some information. So I'll ask them to kind of kick it off by giving me a little download. And then I'll say, and then after 30 minutes, if you're interested in talking about working together, we can do that. Okay, is that helpful? Before I move on to the next question, I just want to see if that's helpful. So let me know if there is a follow-up there. Okay, Karen, I see your question. Let me come back to that. Okay, what if you're tired of offering free things but feel like you should to expand your reach? Okay. Don't talk about croissants. I have a croissant problem. Okay. Okay, boundaries. Okay, let me go back. What if you're tired of, why is it doing this? What if you're tired of offering free things but you feel like you should to expand your reach? Okay, so if you're tired of offering free things, I have a couple of thoughts, or better to say, I have a couple of themes that I see when this comes up. So I don't know if this is your issue, but I think this is one of those examples of like some of these questions. My answer is going to be, well, it depends, right? Because I'm not coaching everybody one-on-one. But I think one theme that I see comes up when people are like, I'm offering all this stuff, but I don't want to, like I'm tired of it, is a little bit what I was just talking about a minute ago, which is you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling like you're over giving, you're feeling like maybe people are pushing boundaries, maybe people are asking for too much free stuff. Like even if, like what if I offered a free session and then somebody said like, can you look at my website? Right? Like that's not included in the scope, and it's my job to tell them that. But if you feel like you're just getting, I feel like that fatigue of just people coming at you is the feeling, right? We have a lot of charge and power and responsibility to like set things up so that it doesn't have to be that way. But structurally, right, from a strategy perspective, and then from a mindset perspective, some people just get overwhelmed by stuff, right? And so again, if you're feeling fatigued, I think my first question is it that theme that I'm seeing with a lot of people, which is just like you're feeling this, like you're just feeling like all the people are coming at you? Then I would say this is boundaries, but it's more about like how you have it set up. You may be meeting with like if I use my free sessions, for example, I'm very clear before I offer free sessions how many I have available in any given month. And the fuller my client roster is, the fewer of those are available. Right. So if you're literally doing too many, that alone, like individually, maybe nobody's pushing a boundary. Individually, maybe they're all doing well, and maybe there's no problem like with each isolated incident, but together, all you're doing is free stuff. I would look at that. You're probably doing too many. You probably are doing too much. And we need to like shorten it, take it down a notch. The other piece then I would say is what's happening at the end of that conversation, and are we not converting the person? Is that what's the missing piece? And do you have a plan and a structure and a strategy? Not a script, please, dear Lord, do not have a script. But do we have a plan, a structure, and a strategy for managing a free call? I'm still using free calls as the example, right? There's other freebie structures. But do we have, because a free call, a free session in my example is different yet similar. It has like a Venn diagram overlap with the discovery call. And not honoring it as such gets confusing again for you and for the person on the other end. So if that is a thing for you, that is also a really great topic for a 1 week sales and a 1 week strategy intensive, in terms of just getting clear on what, like, we could look at your entire freebie from start to finish, from like reach all the way to the conversion conversation, or we could look just at your sales calls or your free calls. And like, if you've got a bunch of calls and they're not converting, then to me, that's the point in time to focus on. It might actually not be the calls. It might just be the conversion conversation. And that's very specific, and I think that's too much detail to go into today. But that, again, like I'm big on like finding out where is the problem, what is the source of the problem. That might be the source of the problem. So does that make sense? So again, one theme is you're just literally doing too much and you need to scope it down in terms of your volume, because you will get, I use this other, let me just take it out of freebies for a second, because most of you on this call, most of the people, not everybody, but lots of the people on my email list, lots of people in my audience do networking, have networking as one of their strategies. I don't know a single person who has networking as a part of their strategy that hasn't been fatigued of one-on-one coffee chats at any given point in time, right? And you're either not talking to the right people or you're doing too many. I could be talking to all the right people, but if I have too many calls on my calendar, it's just too many calls, period. right? And so then the structure's not the problem, the people aren't the problem, my setup isn't the problem, my mindset isn't even the problem. I have too many calls on my calendar, and that's why I'm feeling fatigued. And then the other theme I see when people are fatigued of doing it is they really are giving it all away for free. They are like, instead of my tiny little 30-minute session, they're like, here, let me give you 2 hours of my time and fix all your problems. And then why are they going to hire you? You just did it for free. That's a big difference between that and giving them the taste test and giving them some value. Okay. Conversion conversations. Okay, I'm gonna, does that answer your question about the free things if you're tired but you feel like you should expand your reach, or is there any more to that question? Let me know. Okay, I'm gonna go to your question, Karen, about AI. AI, oh wait. Sometimes it moves. I'm sorry, I'm like visually challenged here. Let me just make this bigger. Okay, AI is obviously taking over the world, but also my best friend, but a bit too much. My clients are begging me and they all paid up front. Then you have all these life coaching businesses, kits, and they all are doing is selling their personalized AI. Yeah, I know. These people are kind of selling the package, and it is a good deal, don't get me wrong, but yesterday I had a seminar about course creation and it was 6 hours. Aren't we supposed to get shit done? Oh, thank you. She says this hour with you is therapy for me, and thank you for everyone's presence too. Yeah, it's a lovely group. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I mean, I think with the AI, I think what you're talking about in terms of the packages, I see that more and more every freaking day. And I think I live in the gray area. I very rarely have I have strong opinions. I have very strong opinions. But I also live in the gray area. So I'm going to answer this without the either or, all or nothing sort of view. I'm going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I think this is just the way that I see it. You're welcome to take this or leave it if it's helpful. Take it if it's helpful, leave it if it's not. Which is, I think what we're seeing with AI, especially in your example of like, you're offering, like if I was to offer you a service and you pay me for coaching, but then I give you my AI bot, like, and don't tell you, there's an ethical problem there, right? Like if you're asking for me, then you need to get me. I've seen people add that on, and that's fine. But again, when we start to outsource at that level, and I don't think that's a problem. I see the bots supporting certain programs and certain offers, and that's a really nice add-on, right? As an example, a lot of times it will serve to, like I've seen a lot of group programs where there's like a Facebook group where you can ask questions, or some other sort of forum where you can ask questions in between calls, for example. And if some of those questions are the same, right, it's no different than people paying their assistants to go into a bank of FAQs and go, this person has this question, I'm gonna go copy paste the answer here. Like, that's no different than AI is doing that. That's okay, like there's not a problem there. And obviously people can and are taking it too far right now. It's still so new. We know enough to be dangerous, but we don't know like the best places to put it. And so I've seen it work really well in those kinds of examples. I see it work really well as a tool to help you behind the scenes. Hold on one second, I'm gonna cough. Excuse me. Couldn't find the mute button. I think it's great, and I think it sucks. That's basically what I'm saying. It's both, and it's really about how to use it and where to put it, and where to use it and where to not use it, where to use it as a tool, where to use it as a replacement, where to not use it at all. I just think that's kind of the question that really everybody is asking themselves, and I think it's very it's still so new that I think if it's helpful, because I know it gets very frustrating, and I have the same. I literally, when I was logging on to the Zoom to meet up with you all today, there was a like pop-up AI thing that started that I didn't like, that just happened, and I don't even know what I was just like, I'm annoyed. Like, I'm just trying to come in here and do my thing. I don't need all these pop-up and clickety things that I didn't ask for, or my settings are now default for, right? Like, that's annoying. I don't want that. But also the note takers are great, right? So grain of salt, I think if we zoom out, this is still very new. And so I think it's just important to look at it, to give it that perspective, which is fair, which is some of it's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And some of it's going to be like, this is so stupid. And everything in between, until we as a society figure this out. We are in a learning curve. I think there will be really, really amazing things that come out of it. And there will be really other things that that become problems that maybe some of you will be solving in your businesses, right? Like we can find ways to look at that differently. But yeah, it's a thing. It's not going away. And I think our job is to try to give it some perspective, and also to recognize it's going to keep changing things at lightning speed. And so rather than expecting it's going to be like it is now in 6 months, it's probably not, right? It will get better and it will get worse depending on the thing. And I think we just have to roll with the punches and roll with the learning curve. I literally heard someone say on a podcast somewhere, I wish I could remember the source, so take this with a grain of salt, go do your own research, but I heard someone say it's really actually a bigger change to ourselves, to us as a society, a bigger change than even the Industrial Revolution. So like, that's where it's like, I think it all helps to be like, okay, we're in a learning curve. Like, it's going to take us some time to figure it out while it keeps changing. Okay, I hope that helps. Let me come back. Okay. I have an upcoming offer and I want to get the word out, but I don't want to offer a free call because I'm tired of offering free calls, mainly because they don't convert. Okay, so that's where I would say, I guess my question to you is, free calls work. You do not have to do them. Every strategy works. I think that's just really, really important to say. And every strategy only works when you set it up to work best for you and when you can execute on it well. And your job is really to just decide, one, is this aligned for you? And two, are you willing to learn the skills you need to learn to make it work, right? To make the strategy work for you. So for example, if I just use myself as an example again, I am willing to err on the side of having some free calls not convert because it means I get to be a coach. I am a coach because I love coaching. And so if I can just coach as a part of my marketing strategy, like I'm winning every single day. And so, yes, have I overgiven before? Yes, a million times, right? Like I'm not gonna pretend like that's never happened to me. It's absolutely happened to me, or I've done too much, or I've fatigued of it, and I've had to pull it back on them. And I definitely recommend if you do like a free call or a free session, that you have a very clear strategy for how many, again, per month or per week, and that you change that based on what your schedule looks like. And because you will burn out, and also you will churn through your audience too fast if you do it too fast. And so just thinking about that as a long-term strategy. But let me get back. But your question is, if they're not converting. So I think what I would have you think about is it you're mad at them because they're not converting, but you would like to do them if you knew they would convert? Then I would have you reconsider. Maybe you need to take a break from them if you're doing them too much or whatever. But like, I would have you reconsider, because if you're just mad because they're not converting, but you like them if they would just convert, like really true, right? Everybody wants everything to convert. We all want all the clients. We all want all the money. Like, But like, what's the part that isn't working for you? Is it just that it's not converting and you like it? Then I would say, are you willing to put in the time or learn the skills or get the coaching to work on the conversion conversation? Or would you rather enjoy something else more and learn a different skill set, like Reels on Instagram? I'm making this up, like some sort of, other marketing or social media strategy, as an example. That doesn't have to be that, right? You can pick a different freebie. Maybe that's a better way to say it in today's context. You can pick a different freebie, right? Okay. Is that helpful? Okay. Let me just see. There was one more that I think kind of went with this one. Yeah, I want to just quickly say this one. I think if you went to the freebies event, I think I answered this without specifically answering it. But I think since we're talking about like free things that don't convert, I think this is actually a really good question to answer really fast, which is, do freebies still work, or are people too overwhelmed with all the freebies out there? Both. Yeah, the answer is yes. People are overwhelmed, right? So if you guys wanted me to talk about like the industry stuff, what's happening in the industry, that's one of the trends that's happening, is people are overwhelmed for 9,000 reasons, but people are overwhelmed. The market is also saturated, which means there's a lot of freebies out there. And when the market is saturated, this is becoming more of an industry conversation that I wanted to make it, but I think it's important. So when the market is saturated, it's saturated because the online industry is growing and more and more people are entering it, which long term, that's really, really great, right? Short term, it's saturated. There's a lot of people in there. That means a lot of people just got here and they don't know what they're doing. That means a lot of people are at the end of their journey and they're sort of getting burnt out, or they are feeling disillusioned by the industry and they're on their way out. And then there's the rest of us that are, probably most of the rest of us are somewhere in between. And then the market is also saturated / going through what I'm hearing be called a trust recession, where a lot of people, coaching industry is a great example, but other online businesses too, where for a while it was like hard to get people to buy stuff online. And then there was this boom and like people just, it's not a problem anymore. People, like, I met my business coach online and I didn't meet her until last year in person. I've worked with her for years. Now that's a normal thing. That was kind of a weird thing. You had to work through the trust 10 years ago to get to that point. Now that's not a problem, but we have the opposite problem. We have too many people in. People are, were, especially a year or two ago, now that people are talking about it, it's starting to level out. But there were a lot of unethical practices happening. Like we were talking about, like, buy my magical thing for $10,000 and then you end up with somebody's bot, right? The bait and switch, or the not getting what you said, not getting what you paid for literally, is a problem. And so with all of that, yes, people are overwhelmed, and people's freebies out there are also crap. There's a lot of crap out there, right? There's a lot of crap online. If you want to scroll and read good content on LinkedIn, it takes some time to find the good stuff. Same with the freebies. And they still work. They still work. The job for your freebie, the job for your marketing right now is to find the way that you need to rise above the noise, and with so that people can find you, so that they know it's not mixed up with all the other AI crap that's out there, right? So that it doesn't, let me say it this way, because I actually don't want to crap on AI. So that when they read the post in, let's say on LinkedIn where you're sharing your freebie, when they read it, they get it and they click, as opposed to, it all sounds the same, I can't even skim through this, I'm out. Right? Which means not letting AI write all your content for you. They do work. They do work. My business has been built on free sessions, has been a huge, I would say maybe for a year or two, I took them away And maybe for a year or two, I didn't even have them in the very beginning. But I have had free offers, free sessions available at different levels. Like right now, you can't get a free session if you don't win one right now. I'm only giving them away, right? So it's kind of an invite only, if you will. And I don't have very many. I don't have very many available, but I'm still using them, and they convert very, very highly for me. And it's not just me. I see free, and it doesn't have to be a free session. We've talked a lot about free sessions today. It does not have to be a free session. Freebies do work. And in fact, I think people are missing the boat if they don't have a freebie. I think it's just so much harder to sell. If you don't have a freebie of some sort that helps you convert, that helps people get an experience of you, you need something else in your customer journey, in your marketing strategy that fits that same bucket. And you probably need to be better at marketing to fill that gap. I hope does that make sense? Because people need to follow your customer journey. I always feel like, I just like the imagery of like, referrals and the algorithm and reach on social media that like plops people onto your conveyor belt, and then like they just move through your customer journey, right? Like through your systems. Sometimes they stay on your email list for 3 years before they hire you, whatever. But as they're going through their customer, right? As they go down their little conveyor belt, we want to give them touch points across the board. And so wherever that touch point is, we want to keep nurturing them and deepening that relationship, and a free offer gives them that. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay, here's a back to boundaries question. You're welcome. Back to boundaries okay, I do have just a few more minutes. Let me make this one bigger, I can't see. Back to boundaries for a second. They paid up front. But totally. Nice question about conversion. Also, learn from your clients. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think boundaries with people, boundaries with clients, boundaries with friends, boundaries with partners. It's just an ongoing, forever thing. And expecting it not to be is, you're probably just putting too much pressure on yourself, if that's helpful. Okay, let me see if there's another one that I want to pull out. Let me just answer this question about trades. And I have actually pondered, if this is interesting to you all, either those of you who are live or on the replay, I might do a whole think differently on trades, because I think it's really nuanced, and I think I just have a lot to say on the matter. But let me just throw a couple of thoughts out to you for this. For the most part, I'm not a fan of trades. But I do think they serve really, really great purposes in certain specific examples. The reason I'm not a fan of trades for the most part is I think most people end up either overgiving or doing a trade that isn't an equal apples to apples trade, whether it's dollars or time or like I see a lot of people say, well, I did this trade, and then when I ask them questions about it, the thing that they're receiving, they don't even need, right? Like the person wanted to work with them and they offered a trade instead of the money. But if you're getting asked that question, do you want the service they have? Like, is that working? Is that going to work for you? Or is it just like, oh, I don't know, I don't really need it, that's nice, right? That's where I have one client in particular that one of the reasons she came to me when she hired me was she was busy, but so much of her busyness was in trades and she was not making enough money. And so a lot of our work in the beginning was unraveling from which trades actually serve her and which do not, and because most of them are just taking up the space of paid clients, and they're taking up the space of her ability, they were taking up the space of her ability to market effectively, to bring in those clients, to fill that spot. And so the busyness just got turned into things that were not paying her. Okay, so there's just a couple of examples. I have a lot of other examples of what I see doesn't work, but just quickly. And then on the other end, like why to do it. I think trades are really fantastic, and so are just free. Like, I gave a lot of free stuff away when I first started this career because I was offering a new service. When you're new to something, right? So when I don't know if you guys know, I was a coach. I've been a coach for many years, sort of sprinkling in my corporate consulting career. But when I came out of corporate and started this business, the first year and a half, I was actually a hypnotherapist. I went to hypnotherapy school. I got extensive training and had a long internship. And I had clients that were free through an internship. And then I, hung my shingle out and did all the things. And that was a new craft for me, completely new offer, right? Like I was also new at the skill. I guess what I'm trying to say. I was new at the skill. So in those moments, that's a really great time to do a trade or to offer free things, again, with some boundaries and structure, to give you, to get you that on-ramp of momentum, to give you the experience, to get testimonials. Please, if you have a trade, exchange testimonials. There's other things you can exchange besides the service and dollars. So to get a testimonial is a really great example. To hone a new skill, really great example. And I always say, if you're going to do something like that, please ask for feedback as well. Have that built into your trade. There was another place that I have seen trades work really well. If you literally need the skill that the other person is offering and they really need you and your pricing is basically the same, that also feels okay. But then why are we not just exchanging dollars? You know what I mean? There's a mindset piece with, well, I can't afford that, or I don't get to have that, or I don't get to charge for it. That's the other piece that comes out, right? So again, everything is nuanced. The answer of trades is really, it depends. Like that's my real answer. It really, really, really depends. But I think, and I'll use my other client as the example where we unraveled. There were I think 1 or 2 trades that were really serving her at the time, and we kept them. So, because otherwise she would have had to hire, people on her team. Anyway, so it was kind of like a trade in that sense. And that just kind of worked and was just served. So, but for the most part, I find that it gets messy. Somebody gets hurt, there's boundaries pushed, if you're gonna go there, act like it's a real business transaction and put some contracts to it, put something in writing to what it includes. I think it also just lends itself to, and I see mostly women do this. I'm sorry, I don't see men do this. And sometimes when I see that, sometimes to me that's like an ethical thing of oh, okay, well maybe women just do things differently and I like that. But sometimes I think, hold on a minute, why are we doing that, right? Is this just the patriarchy that we're doing to ourselves here? Why can't we be strong, independent women and pay each other, right? So I think, anyway, it's so nuanced, and that's why I would have to do a whole live on the topic. But I think just go down to the basics of do I need this? Does this make sense for my business? Is this really serving? Are we sharing apples to apples? Can we put together a clear agreement about what this includes and what it does not? And time and everything you would with a contract with a client. How much time? What's included and what's not? When does it stop? What do you get in that time frame, right? All of those things are really, really, really important. And that's where I see people get spun out. And then they spend a lot of time just sort of trying to decide what to do with the trade person versus just serving an actual paying client. You're in business. If you're not a nonprofit, you're in business and you need to be making money or your business will not survive. It's that simple. And I think we just cut ourselves short too often. Okay, let me just quickly check the chat and then I will wrap us up here. Okay, thank you for today. You're 2 trades that failed. Yes. Thank you for today. I still have so many questions on my list. So I will either try to weave these in to future topics or maybe do another one if this is helpful. So If you're live or on the replay, you can tell me either now in the chat or hit reply to the email. Let me know how this one was for you. I would love to know that. I would love to get a little market research from you guys. Like, was this helpful? Let me know if you have other questions, other topics that we didn't get to today that you would love to have me do a Think Differently on. I do a lot of Think Differently's based on questions that you all ask me, conversations I have with clients, and requests that you all have for topics. So feel free to submit a topic, let me know. And if you'd like one of my last few spots for the year, let me know that as well. Just book a free call and we'll talk about it. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Good to see you.